Okay, let's begin. Let me share the screen. Are we here? 24 or?
We completed 25, I think, Prabhuji. From 26 we should start, I think, Prabhuji. If my, or, no, I think we studied till 35 or,
34. Yeah.
yes, Prabhuji.
Let's start from here. Would you like to continue this?
Sure, Prabhuji. I think so.
Yeah, you can go till 42.
Sure, Prabhuji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. My Lord, you are the origin of the creation by virtue of the lotus flower which sprouts from your navel. You are the supreme controller of the senses and the sense objects, and you are also the all-pervading Vasudeva. You are most peaceful, and because of your self-illuminated existence, you are not disturbed by the 6 kinds of transformations. My dear Lord, you are the origin of the subtle material ingredients, the master of all integration, as well as the master of all disintegration, the predominating deity named Sanskarna, and the master of all intelligence, known as the predominating deity Pradyumna. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. My Lord, as the supreme directing deity known as Aniruddha, you are the master of the senses and the mind. I therefore offer my obeisances unto you again and again. You are known as Ananta as well as Sankarsana because of your ability to destroy the whole creation by the blazing fire from your mouth. My Lord, O Aniruddha, you are the authority by which the doors of the higher planetary systems and liberation are opened. You are always within the pure heart of the living entity. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. You are the possessor of semen, which is like gold, and thus, in the form of fire, you help the Vedic sacrifices, beginning with Chaturhotra. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. My Lord, you are the provider of Pitralokas as well as the demigods. You are the predominating deity of the moon and the master of all 3 Vedas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you because you are the original source of satisfaction for all living entities. My dear Lord, you are the gigantic universal form which contains all the individual bodies of the living entities. You are the maintainer of the 3 worlds, and as such, you maintain the mind, senses, body, and air of life within them. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. My dear Lord, by expanding your transcendental vibrations, you reveal the actual meaning of everything. You are the all-pervading sky within and without, and you are the ultimate goal of pious activities executed both within this material world and beyond it. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances again and again unto you. My dear Lord, you are the viewer of the results of pious activities. You are inclination, disinclination, and their resultant activities. You are the cause of the miserable conditions of life caused by irreligion, and therefore you are death. I offer you my respectful obeisances. My dear Lord, you are the topmost of all bestowers of all benediction, the oldest and supreme enjoyer amongst all enjoyers. You are the master of all the world's metaphysical philosophy. For you are the supreme cause of all causes, Lord Krishna. You are the greatest of all religious principles, the supreme mind, and you have a brain which is never checked by any condition. Therefore, I repeatedly offer my obeisances unto you. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Till 42 or 44, Prabhuji? 42.
Maybe you can read 43.
Oh. My dear Lord, you are the supreme controller of the worker, sense activities, and results of sense activities, karma. Therefore, you are the controller of the body, mind, and senses. You are also the supreme controller of egoism known as Rudra. You are the source of knowledge and the activities of the Vedic injunctions. Hare Krishna. Guruji.
Trying to find a stable place. Okay. So thank you very much, Prabhuji. Satish Prabhu,
Yes, Prabhu.
as you are reading through this Rudra Gita,
Yes, Prabhu.
how do you find it?
Yeah, this was very nice, Prabhuji. Thank you for providing the opportunity. Yeah, because it is, the biggest Vaishnava glorifying the Lord Himself. So very happy to get this opportunity, and you know, everything is Lord's. They say in Tamil that you cannot even move your thumb finger without His, without His desire. So I think. That kind of Lord Shiva kind of dedicates everything to the supreme personality of Godhead. So very that took a lot of time. That said, like I offer my respectful obeisances. So I felt very happy, Prabhuji. Thank you for the opportunity, Prabhuji.
Very nice. Yeah, thank you. So, Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kathamahim Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakvajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Vinam Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम हरे राम हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः So, in this chapter, from the 4th canto, 24th chapter, this is the chapter that helps us understand the glories of the Lord from the direct words of his greatest devotee, Lord Shiva. Yeah. And the stage is set that the sons of Prachina Barhi, Maharaj, they are in the forest because they want to perform austerities, penances to please Lord Vishnu and then get married. Because King Prachina Barhi desired that his sons engage in origination. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhuji, loud and clear, Prabhuji.
Okay. So So they came, and from the lake, when they were passing by, they came across the greatest personality, the greatest devotee of Lord Vishnu, who is none other than Lord Shiva, along with his associates. And um, he was very pleased, and he himself wanted to come and bless. Last week we were discussing the greatness of Vaishnavas. We were discussing about the Lord is extremely pleased. Lord Shiva blesses more lovingly the devotees of Lord Vishnu, because he understands that they are um, great. By the association of Vaishnavas, one can achieve the grace of the Lord. And we'll continue from there. We are talking about the obeisances to the Lord, how Lord Shiva has performed in these verses, and understand the greatness. So, referring to the 33, Shri Rudra Uvacha, Jitam ta Atma Vid Varya, Swastaya Swastir Astu Me, Bhavataradhasa Radham Sarvamsha Atmane Namaha. So, Lord Shiva is opening his wonderful series of prayers, saying so that Lord Shiva is saying, O the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all glories unto you. You are the most exalted of all self-realized souls. Since you are always auspicious for self-realized, I wish that you be auspicious for me. You are worshipable by virtue of all perfect instructions you give. You are the super soul, therefore I offer my obeisances unto you as the supreme living being. Here we see that the great qualities of Vaishnavas are they are always um, um, praying for the welfare of others, for the well-being of others, for the successful advancement of others. But here we also see that a devotee, like Lord Shiva, he is also offering prayer so that he be blessed. Uh, so why? Because we want to advance. We want to also advance. We always know that Lord is pleased when we take the position of His sincere servant, so that we can render pure devotional service. And for that, we need a lot of blessings. And a true worship, a sincere worship, is possible only by the blessings of the Lord. It doesn't matter how advanced we are. Lord Shiva himself sets an example that he's saying, you're always auspicious for the self-realized. So the Lord Shiva is saying that you're very, very auspicious for one who have attained self-realization. I wish that you be auspicious for me. Lord Shiva is not saying, hey, I am self-realized, I am attained perfection. So I don't need your blessings. I only am praying for others. No, Lord Shiva is saying that, oh, please bless me. You are worshipable by virtue of all perfect instructions you give. You are the super soul, therefore I offer my obeisances unto you. Last week we discussed about this purport very nicely, where the individual living being, some of them are in the material world, some of them are in the spiritual world. Those who are in the spiritual world are known as completely self-realized, because on the spiritual platform, the living entity is not forgetful of his service to the Lord. So therefore, the spiritual world, um all the all those are in the devotional service to the Lord, for they understand the position of Supreme Being. Thus, among self-realized souls, the Lord is known as perfectly self-realized. Lord is always ready to give instructions to pure devotees. So Lord Shiva is asking that bless me. Since the Lord gives instructions as Sarvatma, the super soul, Lord Shiva offers his respect with the word Sarvatma Atmane Namaha. Sarvatma Atmane Namaha. So, and it goes further. So the next prayer that Satish Bhai, we were reading is Namah Pankaja Nabhaya Bhuta Sukshmendriyatmane Vasudevaya Shantaya Kutasthaya Swa Rochishke. So, this is saying that, oh Lord, you are the origin of the creation by virtue of the lotus flower which sprouts from your navel. You are the supreme controller and the senses and sense objects. You are also the all-pervading Vasudeva. You are most peaceful, and because of your self-illuminated existence, you are not disturbed by the 6 kinds of transformations. So, Lord Shiva is saying that you are the origin of the creation by the virtue of lotus flower in which sprouts from your navel. We know that Lord expands. We know that Purusha Avatar or Mahavishnu, Karanadakashayi Vishnu is there. Then there is Kshiradakashayi Vishnu. Then there is also Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So Lord Vishnu expands in 3 ways in executing 3 different activities. And Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, who exists in the what do you call every planet, or sorry, every universe. From his navel comes a lotus, and the stem of this lotus has 14 parts, and these are the 14 planets on which the lotus flower is there, on which Brahmaji appears. So, Lord, as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu lies in the ocean of Garbha within this universe, and from his navel the lotus flower sprouts. Lord Brahma is generated from the lotus flower, Pankaja Nabha. So, as such, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, is the origin of material senses and sense objects. This is very important to understand. Usually, we know what are the senses. We also understand what are the sense objects. And the master of all, the controller of all, even in fact the creation of all, is, we see here, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is the origin of material senses and sense objects. Since Lord Shiva considers himself to be one of the products of the material world, his senses are under the control of the Supreme Creator. This is the understanding through which we also appreciate the greatness of Lord Vishnu. Of course, he is Rishikesh. In this also, we know that Rishikesh means, Rishi means senses. Rishikesh, one who is master. So Rishikesha, Lord Vishnu is addressed as Rishikesh, means master of senses, which indicates that our senses and sense objects are formed by the Supreme Lord. As such, he can control our senses, and out of his mercy engage them in the service of the master of senses. Means, so if we if we desire, if we want to render service, we know that we can do the service through what? Though we are the Jivatma, when we take this body, which is made of senses, and the sense objects are actually, or the senses are target of the sense objects. Let's put this way, which means we like to hear, we like to taste, we like to smell, all these, and through which the living entity is conditioned. But if we want freedom from that, as such, he can control our senses. Who? The Supreme Lord, Vishnu. In the conditioned state, the living entity struggles in this material world and engages his senses for material satisfaction. However, if the living entity is graced by the Supreme Lord, he can engage these very senses in the service of the Lord. Ideally, this system is that the senses are there, the sense objects are there for the purpose of engaging ourselves in the service of the Lord. so that through that we can attain perfection. Lord Shiva desires not to be misled by the material senses, but to engage always in the service of the Lord, without being subjected by the contamination of the materialistic influence. We should understand that the root cause, the root cause of our suffering, the root cause of our struggle, the root cause of our pain, is actually identifying ourselves with this body, thinking that this body is the means through which I can enjoy. This is the way how I can bring all happiness, bliss to my own self. But this is a contaminated understanding. The pure understanding is by engaging our senses in the service of the Lord, then we can attain pure bliss. So, by the grace and help of Lord Vasudeva, who is all pervading, one can engage his senses in the devotional service without deviation, just as the Lord acts without deviation. So, just like this, when a piece of iron is in the fire, then it also starts becoming fire. When we ourselves, our consciousness is in the all pervading consciousness, which is Suddha Sattva. The meaning of Vasudeva is all pervading Suddha Sattva. So when our consciousness is refined, and when we engage in the service, devotional service, then we also can engage in the service without deviation. And then there is this words, Shantaya Kutasthaya, Swarochise. Although the Lord is within this material world, he is not disturbed by the waves of material existence. We know that Shantaya means one who is peaceful, one who is not agitated, one who is devoid of agitation is Shantaya. Shantaya Kutasthaya. So, therefore, he said here, Kutasthaya, that he is always peaceful and devoid of agitation because of his prowess. Prowess. But we are not like that. A living entity, a Jivatma, he is under 6 kinds of agitations. The 6 kinds of agitations, Prabhupada gives in the purport. Right. Yeah, the 6 kinds of agitations are agitation due to hungry, being hungry, agitation due to thirsty, agitation due to grief. When some things are happening, we are getting agitated. Agitation due to old age, agitation due to the thought of even death, or even the situation when someone is at the deathbed. So these are the agitations, and yes, find that. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so these are the different 6 kinds of agitations, and the conditioned soul becomes very easily illusioned by these conditions in the material world. And actually, these are not to the soul, not to the individual living entity, but because we tend to think, then that's the reason we are going through these transformations and we are getting affected by these transformations. Although conditions have become very easily illusioned, the one more is about illusion, agitation due to illusion. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Vasudev, is never agitated by these transformations. Therefore, it is said that he is always peaceful and devoid of agitation. And the reason being is what? The living individual soul, although within the illumination of the Supreme, sometimes fall down from that illumination. Here in the last, it is mentioned, what is it mentioned? That Kutasthaya Swa Rochishe. Swarochishe means unto the supreme illumination. The Lord is self-illuminating. We are not so. We are dependent on the illumination of the Supreme Lord. This is the reason. This is the reason. And Prabhupada gives us, usually we may have this question, wonderful, what is that $1,000,000 question? What is that? Why did we fall down? One answer here we can find from the purport is that the individual soul, although within the illumination of the Supreme Lord, but sometimes falls down from that illumination because of his tiny position. If we wouldn't fall down, then we would feel ourselves supreme, or we would have been supreme. But there is only one Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all are his tiny part and parcels. And then sometimes fall down that illumination because of his tiny position. And when he falls down, he enters into the material conditioned life. The Lord, however, is not conditioned. He is not subject to such conditioning. Therefore, he is described as self-illuminated. Consequently, any conditioned soul within this material universe can remain completely perfect when he is under the protection of Vasudeva, or when he is engaged in devotional service. So here we see the reason why we would have come from the spiritual world. Because we are infinitesimal, and with infinitesimal we have a chance. We have a chance that we can fall down if we are desiring to master over. Why? Because the power. Just imagine, Satish Prabhu, you are very powerful. Then you can naturally exhibit the effects of being very powerful. But if you yourself are not so powerful, how can you exhibit that Shantaya, Shantaya Kutasthaya? How is it possible? It's not possible. We can be conditioned, and when we tend to do, we fall down and then we get conditioned. Just like, we may not be able to see some stars which are very, very far, but there is no such question when it comes to moon. When it comes to moon, there is no question that we can't see. So our tiny position, and when we are not Swayam Prakash, we are not self-illuminated in that sense. Just like the stars, we call them self-illuminating, but stars are not as strong as sun or moon. So in that way, we may have the qualitative characteristics, but when it comes to quantity-wise, we are not that much. So that because quantity is not that much, there is a likelihood, a chance of fall down. But even if one is in the material world, he can stay perfect by not falling down. We are anyway in the material world, but even if we are in the material world, we can be perfect by by engaging in devotional service. Because as soon as when we engage in devotional service, we are in Vasudeva state. And when we are in the Vasudeva state, which is in the Suddha Sattva, then what will happen is that we are unaffected by the contamination of the material existence. So Lord Shiva is further saying, Sankarshanaya, Sukshmaya, Duranta Yatma Kayacha, Namo Vishwa Prabodhaya, Pradyumnaya Antaratmane. So he goes further, he's saying, my dear Lord, you are the origin of the subtle metal ingredients, the master of all integration as well as the master of all disintegration, the predominating deity named Sankarshana, and the master of all intelligence known as the predominating deity Pradyumna. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So the whole universe is maintained by integrating power and disintegrating power of the Lord. So here, and who is that Lord? Lord is none other than Sankarshana. We know Akarshana. We know Akarshana means that attracts. Sankarshana. The material scientists may have discovered the law of gravity as Akarshana Shakti. That is the reason the planets are revolving, rotating in their orbits, and all these things. We see that every planet has a gravitational force, uh, and yet the master of hmm, all integration of objects within the material energy, yet the master of all can create devastation by disintegrating. Uh, so we are saying, okay, so and so planet has so and so light years of time, and after that they cease to exist. uh, and we may also see that, okay, the planets are coming closer. They, after one fine day, this whole gravitational force through which everything is working will um, diminish gradually, and eventually will lose, drop from the orbit. So all these things, when we understand, the material scientists may have discovered this law, which maintains the integration of the object within the material energy. Otherwise, even if we take any molecule, even we take a water molecule, H2O, two hydrogen molecules or atoms, and then one oxygen together, they make this water. Yeah, so this is a process of integration, and of course there is a process of disintegration. So this integration and disintegration are part of the soul maintenance of this world. Hmm. So the integration of objects within the material energy, yet the master of all integration can create devastation, which means we see that creation is happening, and also there is this disintegration. We know what is it called, fission and fusion. Fusion means integrating, and fission means disintegrating. Yeah, we know how nuclear force or energy is made by these processes. And who is the master? Master of all these at a high and complete sense, it is Vasudev. Here we are seeing who is that? Sankarshana is doing what? He is integrating, disintegrating. How to understand this? In Bhagavad Gita, we see in the 11th chapter the universal form. And in the universal form, Lord is described. Yeah, he is described how that everything is within him, everything is being created from him, everything is devoured and devastated from him. From the fire that is emanating from his mouth is devouring, destroying everything. So we see the master of integration is also the destroyer of this world by virtue of his disintegrating energy. So the integrating energy and disintegrating energy both are Lord's Shakti, Lord's potency, Lord's uh, means through which everything is maintained and destroyed. Sankarshana is the master of integration and disintegration, whereas Pradyumna is another feature of Lord Vasudeva, is responsible for universal growth and maintenance. So here we can understand how the Lord is expanding in the Purusha avatar, in the Chaturvyuha, how the Lord is expanding into the four forms: Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Vasudeva. So the Lord, so he's expanding into these four forms, and taking charge of different manifestations, how they come into existence, how they are maintained, how they are destroyed. So the master of integration, disintegration means creation and destruction. We can see Sankarshana, and then and the master who helps with the growth and maintenance, universal growth and maintenance. So Vasudeva is expanding as Pradyumna. The word Sukshmaya is significant because within this gross material body, there are subtle material bodies, namely mind, intelligence, and ego. And who is the Lord of that? The Lord in different features, Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Sankarshana, maintains both the gross and subtle material elements of this world. So, we can understand that we are maintained, the whole gross body is maintained by these uh, um, incarnations of the Lord, different features as the form of Vasudeva, Niruddha, Pradyumna, and Sankarshana. All of them are controlled by the Supreme Person of Godhead as Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and this will be explained in the next verses. How to understand this is Prabhupada is mentioning that in the words of Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva is saying, Namo Namo Aniruddhaya Rishikesha Indriyatmane Namah Paramahamsaya Purnaya Nibratatmane. Here we see Lord Shiva is saying, My Lord, as the supreme directing deity known as Aniruddha, you are the master of senses and the mind. So, just as we understand that the integrating, disintegrating energy is Sankarshana, Pradyumna is the one who helps with the universal growth and maintenance, and Aniruddha is the master of senses and mind. So Lord Shiva is saying, I therefore offer my obeisances unto you again and again. You are known as Ananta as well as Sankarshana because of your ability to destroy the whole creation by the blazing fire from your mouth. So when we understand this, we eventually come to or should come to a conclusion that we are kind of a mercy cake maintained by the Supreme Lord in the form of Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Sankarshana, and Vasudeva. Rishi Kendriya Atmane, the mind is the director of our senses. When we say we know this, the mind is directing the senses, so it's the director of the senses. And Aniruddha, the Lord, Aniruddha is the director of the mind. I don't know if you have been to Tirupati. In Tirupati, there is kind of a people come with some small silver molds. I don't know if anyone have seen that. There's a guy who sells a small silver mold, a small sheet
Yes,
on
Guru.
which on which there is some leg, left leg, right leg, eyes, heart. Have you seen that?
Yes, Prabhuji. Even the full body also.
There is full body. There is also a specific part of the body, and what they do is they take it from there and then they offer it in the hundi after, so that the Lord may give protection. The Lord may save them from the problem rugmati, or it could be mind or body. So we can understand that we are not independent. We may think, hey, it's very superstitious. How come that if you're just offering that into the hundi? Of course, I'm not promoting that. And what I'm saying is to show that there is a time-old tradition where if we want to seek the blessings, if we want to be protected, if we want to advance, so the means is not a self-endeavor itself will work, but actually the blessings of the Lord. So what happens is eventually one can take this mold if someone has a problem, what they do is they go in front of the Lord and they pray. I mean, here we see Lord Shiva is praying that, hey, you are Aniruddha, you are the master of senses and the mind. I therefore offer my obeisances unto you again and again. So here, Lord Shiva is praying. No? You are known as Ananta as well as Sankarshana because of your ability to destroy the whole creation by the blazing fire from your mouth. Huh? So we know that we are, our mind is very important to do any activity. Just imagine when mind functioning stops, then everything stops. The body parts, though we may have a beautiful cake in front of us, what can we do if the mind doesn't work? So mind is directing our senses, and this mind is not independent. Um, I therefore offer my obeisances again and again unto you. This is what Lord Shiva is saying, that because the mind is directed by Aniruddha. In order to execute devotional service, one has to fix his mind. One has to fix his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. Therefore, Lord Shiva prays to the controller of the mind, Lord Aniruddha, to be pleased to help him engage his mind on the lotus feet of Lord. So our prayers is not that, oh, let me, please, Lord, make me very smart. Our prayers are not just to make best and strong footage in this world. We usually pray, oh, may you give me the intelligence so that I can crack GRE, may I crack TOEFL, or may I crack, I don't know what all. Huh? The purpose of mind is to engage in the service of the Lord. But how is it possible when we understand that we are dependent? When we understand that even my mind is sense, as we read, Vasudeva is the controller of the senses and sense objects, right? So, which means we are in the control. We are not fully independent. We are given some independence, but as soon as we misuse, we are not even uh, um, granted. We are put in more conditioned way of living, due to which that little independence we because of misusing, the Lord is taking away that, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Hmm. What is it, Lord saying that Matta Smriti Gnanam Apohanam Cha. From me comes remembrance, Apohanam, and forgetfulness. It is me. So Krishna is saying, it is me who is doing that. But what is the factor? What decides whether the Lord is giving us remembrance? If we are in Manmana Bhava Madbhakta. So if we become devotees, then He gives us remembrance. He gives us intelligence. He engages our mind in right way. So the mind has to be engaged in the meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord in order to execute devotional service. So mind is very important, and mind is in the control of Lord Aniruddha. So by praying to Lord Aniruddha here, Lord Shiva is saying, uh, thus if Lord Aniruddha is pleased, he can help the mind engage in the service of the Lord. It is also indicated in this verse that Lord Aniruddha is the sun god by the virtue of his expansions. What is the verse saying? He is saying, Namah Paramahamsaya Purnaya Nibrit Atmane. So in this way, Lord Sun God is addressed twice. Paramahamsa. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Paramahamsa is also another name for the Sun God. The Sun God is addressed herein as Nibhrat Atmane, which indicates that he always maintains the various planets by manipulating the rainfall. So, and then here, Lord Krishna, by his Chaturvyuha expansion, quadruple expansion, Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, is the Lord of psychic actions. Namely, what are the actions of mind? Thinking, feeling, willing, and acting. So we are so much dependent, and to seek the blessings of Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. Lord Shiva prays to Lord Aniruddha as a sun god, who is controlling deity of the external material elements which constitute the construction of material body. So when we worship, we see also practice where Aditya, Narayana, Aditya Narayan. So Lord Vishnu is worshipped in the form of sun god. And for what? Because sun god is controlling deity of external material elements. What are all the external elements that we see? Is controlled by the sun god, which constitutes the construction of the material body. So this material body is maintained by whom? By sun god. What is that? Aditya Hridayam. If anyone have heard that? People read for bestowing good health.
Yes, Prabhuji.
How is it possible? Because he's the control of the external material elements, which this body is made up of. And here in this, Lord Shiva is addressing him as Paramahamsa. Paramahamsa. The sun god is also addressed here as Nibrat Atmane, which means that he maintains various planets. How? By manipulating rainfalls. We see how the sun god, this whole, how is the planet sustained? How people are sustained? Based on grains, right? When we eat, then we survive. But how are we able to do that? When there is a rainfall, when the crops are coming. So from where is this rainfall coming? This is coming by the business what sun god is doing by he's evaporating the water from the oceans and seas, and then he's making a packs of clouds, and then he's distributing the clouds are going to different places, and they pour rain, and from that rain grain comes, and from the grain everything is sustained. So in that way, this is how everything is made. And sun god is also addressed here as Purna, or complete, because the rays emanating from the sun have no end. For millions and millions of years, since the creation of this universe, the sun god has been supplying heat and light without diminution. Actually, we are feeling more sunlight, right? Year on year. Isn't it? Ratikeli Mataji, how is sun there in India? I think already there. I think right now maybe it's a little cold, right? We are in Feb. But I think by mid of Feb already we start feeling the heat, isn't it? And then by the time it becomes April, May, it's already hot, unbearable. It's not like year on year the sun is becoming weaker and weaker, and then we are feeling, no, there is no sunlight, no sun heat. That's not happening. So here sun god is addressed as Purna, he's complete. That he, science is telling, I came across an article where science was saying that sun, the life, we know, but after a few further research, they said, no, it will not end so soon. There is still some more time, because it's going to take a long time before the sun battery will be down. No, that's not the case. Sun god is when the word Paramahamsa is applied to persons who are completely cleansed. And sun god, he is completely cleansed. He is Purna, he is Paramahamsa, he is Nibradatma. So when there is sufficient sunshine, what is happening? The mind remains clear and transparent. So in that way, the predominating deity of the material elements of this body, of the creation, is sun god. So in other words, sun god helps the mind of the living entity to become situated on the platform of Paramahamsa. So in that way, thus Lord Shiva prays to Aniruddha to be kind upon him, so that his mind will always be in the perfect state of cleanliness and will be engaged in devotional service of the Lord. We know that fire is used for sterilizing, right? When I don't know if you have seen a goldsmith, right? So he is actually let's take that example. When a marriage or wedding is happening, it is done um, where there is yajna. Fire, what does it do? It purifies everything. It purifies occasion. It purifies so that a pure commitment can be made. And for that, yeah. So um, when there is sufficient sunshine, the mind remains clear and transparent. A study is made how countries, especially Nordic countries, yeah, they have a lot of depression, mainly because there is not enough sunshine, or what do we call that? They are more not having the opportunity to be in the sunshine like other parts of the world. And it causes depression because you start thinking, hey, is this everything? There is nothing. You can't go anywhere. You can't see anything. Everything is gloomy, not bright. It becomes very unclear. So many things. In other words, Sun God helps the mind of the living entity to become situated on the platform of Paramahamsa. So the fire sterilizes all unclean things. The Sun God also keeps everything sterilized. We know that, right? So um, when there's a rain, we know what happens during the rainy season. A lot of infections prevail, right? They come up because of the place becomes the water gets stagnant. It could become dirty. It could become a means or a source for yeah infections to come. And but then when there is sunlight, what is it doing? It's sterilizing. The water is getting evaporated. Everything becomes clean and clean. uh, even if when we see this cow dung, right? So what is happening? This whole place, uh, cow dung gets dried up because of the heat. uh, and the example given is a stool. When there's a stool, then because of the sunshine or the sun heat, sunlight, sun rays, all it's becoming evaporated or dried up and becomes mature manure. So in that way, we see that sun god eventually. Here we see that every, especially dirty things within the mind, get sterilized, thus enabling one to attain elevation to the platform of spiritual understanding. Mhm. The next prayer he's saying is Swarga Pavarga Dwaraya Nityam Suchi Sade Namaha Namo Hiranya Viryaya Chatur Hotraya Tantave. So he's saying, O Aniruddha, you are the authority by which the doors of higher planetary systems and liberation are opened. You are always within the pure heart of living entity. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. You are the possessor of semen, which is like gold and thus in the form of fire. You help Vedic sacrifices beginning with Chatur Hotra. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. Here we see that Swarga. Swarga indicates the higher position. We know the higher planets, heavenly planetary system. And then there is Apavarga, which means liberation. So those who are attached to the karma kandya activities like karmis are actually entangled in the three modes of material nature. So what is happening is uh, we are affected by the modes of goodness, passion, or the ignorance, or three of them. So Bhagavad Gita therefore says that one should be away above this um, dominion of fruitful activities. Means one should come to either higher planets, or even above that is liberation. And the door key is in the hands of Lord Aniruddha. There are different kinds of liberations. The best mukti is engagement in the devotional service of the Lord. So if we want Apavarga, what is the topmost Apavarga is to be free from this, but not just that, but engage in the service of the Lord. Not only does Lord Aniruddha helps true actors by elevating them to higher planetary systems, but he also helps the devotee engage in devotional service by dint of his inexhaustible energy. Just as heat is a source of material energy, yeah? So for this maintenance of this material world, sunlight is very important. This heat is very important. So we can perceive this, right? So how are we perceiving the energy of the sun god? Through heat, right? Yeah, it doesn't matter if there is a lot of sunshine, but there is no heat. No, when we see sunshine, there is obviously the heat, which is none other than sun's energy, Shakti, potency, or the power. So, the inspiration of Lord Aniruddha is the energy by which one can engage in executing devotional service. So, to execute devotional service, what do we need? Definitely, we need energy. How to get it? by pleasing Lord Aniruddha. One can engage in executing devotional service. My Lord, the next one is Namo Urja Ishe Traya Pataye Yagna Retase Triptidaya Cha Jivanaya Nama Sarva Rasatmane. So, my Lord, you are the provider of Pitralok as well as all the demigods. You are the predominating deity of the moon and the master of all three Vedas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you because you are the original source of satisfaction of all living entities. So, when we are born in this material world, especially in the human form, we have so many obligations. Mm. We call them as runas. We have runas to demigods, we have runas to saintly persons, we have runas to parents, and to living entities in general. In Shastras, it is said, Devarshi Bhutatma Nunam Pitranam. So, thus one has an obligation to one's forefathers, the previous hierarchy. Lord Shiva prays to Lord Aniruddha to give him strength so that he can become free from all obligations of pitas, demigods, uh, general living entities, and saintly persons, and completely engage himself in devotional service. So, when one becomes devotee, when one is in the path of devotion, when one takes to devotional life, where the Lord is the Supreme Father, the Lord is Supreme Mother, the Lord is Supreme Caretaker, the Lord is everything. So, and which means one has to engage 24/7 in His service. How is it possible when one have other obligations? The blessing here is that when one takes seriously to devotional service, he is freed from that. And of course, yeah, Lord Shiva is praying. For that. We see here, Devarshi Bhutatma Nudam Pitranam Na Kinkaro Nayam Rinicha Rajan Sarvatmana Yas Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Parihritya Kartum. In Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it says one becomes free from all obligations to the demigods, saintly persons, pitas, ancient forefathers, etc. if one is completely engaged in devotional service of the Lord. Lord Shiva therefore prays to Lord Aniruddha to give him strength so that he can be free from such obligations and entirely engage in Lord's service. So, it is not that we want to become free from these kind of duties. Let me become a devotee. Of course, becoming a devotee motivation should be to engage in the service of the Lord. And as one takes seriously to that, then one becomes free from these obligations, because the focus of the Jivatma is purified and attained the perfection, because the focus for us is not to maintain a clean sheet, that no, I will do all these things so that I'll not have any sins incurred if I don't do it. I'll do this because I am in fact indebted to them. Yeah, ultimately, to whom are we indebted? To whom are we indebted? Really, we are indebted to the Supreme Lord, because we are indebted because we are His servants. We are indebted because we are being sustained by Him. We are being maintained by Him. In fact, so in that way, when we understand the higher obligation, yeah, let's see this way. The higher obligation for or by default is actually what? To always serve the Lord. And one gato mukunda parihritya kartam. So when one engages in service of Mukunda, one is freed. Mukunda means one who gets freed from these obligations, by engaging in his service. So Lord Shiva is praised to Lord Aniruddha to give him strength. This is one thing. And his Lord Shiva is praying that, oh, you are the one. So may you engage me in your service without any obligations, that I have to take care. Therefore, prays to Aniruddha to give him strength so that he can be free from such obligations and entirely engage in Lord's service. And then next, the second part of this verse, he was saying that Namah Triptidaya cha Jivanam Namah Sarva Rasayatme. This Rasatmane, Rasa means Soma Rasa. We talk about Soma, who is the predominating deity of the moon. He is responsible for the living entity's ability to relish the taste, rasa, of the food through the tongue. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that. So, Lord Shiva prays to Lord Aniruddha to give him strength so that he will not taste anything but the Lord's prasad. So, Srila Bilvamangal Thakur says that among all senses, to control tongue is very difficult because most formidable enemy among all senses. Why? Because through tongue, we are able to take, we are able to enjoy. Because when we are able to enjoy, when we are eating, then our consciousness is developed, and accordingly, the consciousness, we become enslaved. So, if one can control the tongue, he can easily control other senses. The tongue can be controlled only by eating prasadam offered to the deity. Lord Shiva, prayer to Lord Aniruddha is meant for this purpose. Triptidaya. Tripti means satisfaction. What is that? What is that rust through which we can satisfy ourselves? Is Harinam. He prays to Lord Aniruddha to help him be satisfied by eating only prasad offered to the Lord. Sarva Sarvatmana Dehaya. Sarva Satvatma Dehaya Visheshaya Sthaviyase Namah Trailokya Palaya Saha Ojo Balaya cha. You are the gigantic universal form which contains all the individual bodies of the living entities. You are the maintainer of three worlds, and as such, you maintain the mind, senses, body, and air of life within them. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances to you, unto you. So everything is within the Lord in the universal form. When Arjuna asked Krishna, he showed the universal form. And this universal form is very, very gustly, very huge. In that so many are there, so many are coming, going, and all. How to understand this? Prabhupada gives in the purport that as an individual body, even in our body, it is composed of millions of cells, germs, and microbes. Right? In our body also, there are so many small living beings. That's why in the third canto, where the description of pregnant, so is mentioned how the body or the baby is growing in the womb of the mother. They say that he will have brothers, yes, in the udara, in the womb. It's not only the baby is growing, but there are also small worms, and these worms are called sahodara. Udara means the womb or abdomen, and then sahodara means coexisting. So, in that way, we can understand that in this body there are also so many microbes, so many other cells that are there. Uh, it's not that it's only me. So similarly, the Supreme Lord similarly contains all the individual bodies of the living entities within him. Lord Shiva is offering his obeisances to the universal body, which includes all other bodies, so that everyone's body may fully engage in the service of the Lord. For instance, when we can understand this, this individual is composed of senses. All the senses should be engaged in devotional service. For instance, smelling instrument, the nose can engage in smelling flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord. The hands can engage in cleansing the temple of the Lord in that way. Indeed, being the life air of every living entity, the Lord is the maintainer of three worlds. Thus, every living entity should serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his prana, artha, and ojas, intelligence and words. एतावत् जन्म साफल्यं देहिनाम इह देहेषु प्राणेर अर्थेर दिया वाचा with intelligence and words. Shreya acharanam sada. Even though one may desire to engage in the service of the Lord, without the sanction, one cannot do so. Lord Shiva is offering his prayers in so many different ways in order to show living entities how to engage in the devotional service of the Lord. So in that way, we are understanding that how dependent are we. And then Arthalingaya Nabhase Namo Antar Bahir Atmane Namah Punyaya Lokaya Amushmai Bhuri Varchase. My dear Lord, by expanding your transcendental vibrations, you reveal the actual meaning of everything. You are all pervading sky within and without, and you are the ultimate goal of pious activities executed both within this material world and beyond it. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances again and again unto you. We know that Vedic evidence is called Shabda Brahma. Shabda means vibration, right? There are many things which are beyond the perception of our imperfect senses. Yet the authoritative evidence of sound vibration is perfect. It is not through seeing we may be able to understand things authoritatively, but when the things are spoken from authoritative source, when we hear, then the Vedas are known as Shabda Brahma because evidence taken from Vedas constitute the ultimate understanding. This is because Shabda Brahma or the Vedas represent the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this Shabda Brahma is not just any other language. Other day I was reading about looking for a Sanskrit courses where there was this. I came across one where they were saying the greatness. There are very few universities which are teaching Sanskrit, and I was reading why this university has a Sanskrit faculty on. I think it's in Ireland or Scotland. I think Ireland. Very few schools. Maybe every university may have some faculties for Sanskrit, but they have made it as part of their curriculum. Sanskrit as part of their curriculum for the kids. And he was mentioning why Sanskrit, why not any other languages? And one of the reason is that, so many languages kept changing, but Sanskrit never changed. Why? Because it's complete. It has everything in it. Of course, one may ask, okay, the aeroplane has come now. It was not there when the Sanskrit was there. Yeah, but the beauty of Sanskrit is it has the means through which when you combine few words, then you can create that, refer to that particular object. Anyway, so here we see that Shabda Brahma is none other than representation of the Vedas. So this is because Shabda Brahma or the Vedas represent the Supreme Person of Godhead. However, the real essence of Shabda Brahma is what? Is the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. It is not just, okay, Shabda Brahma means knowledge. Usually when we think about that, we only stuck with knowledge. Oh, oral reception, okay, to know what, okay, to know about metaphysics, to about physics, to about science. No, is actually Shabda is the transcendental vibration. The transcendental vibration of Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's this Hare Krishna is not different from the Supreme Person of Godhead. So just like how when we are saying the Vedas are representation of the Supreme Lord, and Supreme Lord and his names are non-different, so Shabda Brahma is not non-different from the Hare Krishna mantra. By vibrating this transcendental sound, the meaning of everything, both material and spiritual, is revealed. This Hare Krishna is not different from the person of Godhead. The meaning of everything is received through the air, through sound vibration. The vibration, the vibration may be material or spiritual, but without sound vibration, no one can understand the meaning of anything. We need this. We need this via media, this vibration through which we can understand everything. In Vedas, it is said, "Antar bahischa tat sarvam vyapya Narayana Sthita." Narayana is all pervading, and he exists both within and without. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, "Yata prakashayati eka Krishnam loka imam ravihi kshetram kshetri tatha Krishnam prakashayati Bharata." O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so do the living entity and the super soul illuminate the entire body by consciousness. So those Jivatma and Paramatma inside the body is illuminating just like sun is illuminating the universe. In other words, the consciousness of both the soul and super soul is all pervading. The limited consciousness of the living entity is pervading the entire material body. The supreme consciousness of the Lord is pervading the entire universe. Because the soul is present within the body, consciousness pervades the entire body. So this is Krishna is saying, Maya Dakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam, right? This material nature is working under my direction. So Lord Shiva, therefore, praying to the Supreme Person of Godhead to be kind to us, so that simply by chanting the mantra, we can understand everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. That is the purpose why Lord Shiva came out from the lake, so that he can instruct Prachetas that one should take up. He said, I'm going to give you a very nice, what is that mantra? Mangalam, which brings all auspiciousness and also transcendental. Hare Krishna mantra. We see that through the chanting of the holy name, one can become perfect. The word Amushmai is significant in this regard because it indicates the best target one can aim for after attaining the higher planetary systems. So our goal should be very clear. Who seeks unification or monist merging with effluence of Supreme Lord also attain their desired end. But in the ultimate issue, the devotees who desire to personally be associate with the Lord are promoted to Vaikuntha or Goloka planet. Sukadev Goswami has stated that the cowhead boys who played with Lord Krishna were not ordinary living entities. Only after accumulating many pious activities in various births does one get the opportunity to personally associate with the Lord. Since only the pure can reach him, he is the supreme pure. So, pravrittaya nivrittaya pitradevaya karmane namo dharma vipakaya mrityave dukkhadaya cha. My dear Lord, you are the viewer of the results of pious activities. Your inclination, disinclination, pravritti, nivritti, and their results, activities, karmane, pitra devaya karman. You are the cause of the miserable conditions of life caused by irreligion. Namo dharma vipakaya. And therefore you are death. Mritya, mrityave, dukkadaya cha. So I offer my respectful obeisances to you, who you are not, you are the one viewer of the results of pious activities. And these are activities are of two kinds, nivritti and pravritti. So the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, and from him issue living entities, inclination and disinclination. So what is happening is ultimately when we are doing something good or wrong, we may see some asura is doing something and sura is doing something. So this is all because of what? Here we say, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sannivishto. Lord who is seated in the heart, he is directing everything. Matta Smriti Jnanam Apohanam Cha. Remembrance and knowledge and forgetfulness, everything is coming from me. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead causes the asuras to forget him and the devotees to remember him. One's disinclinations are due to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these doing and this way are disinclinations are because of the Lord. According to Bhagavad Gita, pravritim cha nivritim cha janana vidhur asura. The asuras do not know which way one should be inclined to act and which way one should not be inclined to act. Although the asuras oppose devotional service, it is to be understood that they are inclined that way due to the Supreme Lord. So if an asura is behaving so and so, it is we can see that it's because the inclination is through the Supreme Lord. Because the asuras do not like to engage in Lord's service, the Lord within gives them the intelligence to forget. So here we see that inclination is provided by the Lord, but actually the one's free will, whether they want to remember or not remember, it is the individual. Because asuras do not like to engage in Lord's service, they will within give them intelligence to forget. Ordinary karmis do not desire. Ordinary karmis do not desire. What is it? Welfare, right? The ordinary are interested only in doing this pitra karma to promote to pitra lok. They can enjoy the facilities. Yanti deva vrata devan pritan yanti pitra vrata. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods, and those who worship ancestors go to the ancestors. In this verse, the word dukkadaya is also significant for those who are non-devotees are perpetually put in the cycle of birth and death. This is a very miserable condition because one's position in life is attained according to one's activities. The asuras or non-devotees are put in such miserable conditions. So then, Namaste Asishan Isha Manave Karanatmane Namo Dharmaya Brahate Krishnaya Kunta Medase Purushaya Puranaya Sankhya Yogeshwaraya Cha. So, my dear Lord, you are the topmost of all bestower of benediction. What is it? Krishnaya Anukunta Medase. Sorry, Krishnaya Akunta. Akunta means immense. Medase. Krishnaya Akunta Medase. We see the modern scientists have stopped their brain work by discovering theory of uncertainty. But factually, for a living being, there cannot be any brain activity which is not checked by time and space limitation. What does this mean? The Lord is pervading. He is making note of everything. So there is something called uncertainty. A living entity is called Anu, an atomic particle of the Supreme Soul, and therefore his brain is also atomic. It cannot accommodate unlimited knowledge. So there is a very nice, I don't know if one would like to dwell in a very intellectual subject. You can try to read, look up something called Conceiving the Inconceivable. This is written by His Grace Ravindra Swarup Prabhupada disciple. Yeah. So our mind is atomic. So how much capacity we have? It cannot accommodate unlimited knowledge. This does not mean, however, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has a limited brain. When Krishna says and does it, not limited by time and space, but we are limited. Vedaham samatitani vartamani cha Arjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu veda na kaschana. He says, "Oh Arjuna, I know everything that has happened in the past. That all is happening in the present, all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me, no one knows." So this means the capacity. Our brain is limited. We are anus. So Krishna knows everything, but we cannot know Krishna without being favored by him. Thus, for Krishna and his representative, there is no question of a theory of uncertainty. So, for a Krishna devotee, because Krishna is favoring, there is no such kind of limitations. When Krishna says, what Krishna says is all perfect and certain and is applicable to the past, present, and future. Nor is there any uncertainty for one who knows exactly what Krishna says. So when we know Krishna says, then we have complete faith, and then we understand that it will definitely happen. There is no uncertainty, there is no by chance, there is no accident. For those who are engaged in this moment, there is no question of uncertainty. Prabhupada writes, so if we are in ISKCON, we can't say, no, there is no uncertainty. Krishna is certain and his acts are certain. Krishna is also attested here as Ashiman Isha. Ashiman Isha means the great saintly personalities, sages, and demigods are able to offer benedictions to ordinary living entities, but they in turn are benedicted by the Supreme Lord. How is it? Without being blessed by Krishna, one cannot offer blessings to others. The word manave can be meant to unto the Supreme Manu. Now the Supreme Manu is we are in this. We see that Swayambhuva Manu, right, in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, who is an incarnation of Krishna. All the Manus are empowered incarnations of Krishna, Manvantar avatars. There are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma. They are 420. Sorry, they are 420 in 1 month. 5,000 in 1 year. 500,000 Manus in lifetime of Brahma. Since all the Manus are directors of human society, ultimately Krishna is the supreme director of the human society. In another sense, the word Manave indicates the perfection of all kinds of mantras. The mantra delivers the conditioned soul from his bondage. So, simply by chanting the mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, one can gain deliverance from any condition. Why? Because Krishna is Karana Atmane. He is the cause of all causes. Everything has a cause, right? The theory of chance is repudiated in this verse because everything has its cause. There is no question of chance. Because so-called philosophers and scientists are unable to find the real cause, they foolishly say that everything happened by chance. In Brahma Samhita, Krishna is described as the cause of all causes. Therefore, he is addressed here as Karanatmane. His very personality is the original cause of everything, the root cause of everything. In Vedanta Sutra, it says Janmadi Asyata. So in that way, we can understand that the absolute truth is the supreme cause of all causes. What is everything coming from? And then there is a word here used. Lord Shiva is addressing Vasudeva as what? Sankhya Yogeshwaraya. Sankhya, he is a master, Yogeshwaraya. Yogeshwara means master of all mystic powers, right? Without possessing inconceivable mystic powers, one cannot be accepted as God. In Kali Yuga, those who have a little fragmental portion of mystic power claim to be God, but such pseudo gods can only be accepted as fools. For only Krishna is the supreme person who possesses all mystic and yogic perfections. The Sankhya philosophy system, popular at the present moment, are propounded by the atheist Kapila. But the original Sankhya Yoga was propounded by Krishna in the incarnation named as Kapila, the son of Devahuti. Similarly, Dattatreya, another incarnation of Krishna, also explained the Sankhya Yoga system. Thus, Krishna is the origin of all Sankhya Yoga systems and mystic yoga powers. The Purushaya Puranaya also is very important here. In Brahma Samhita, Krishna is accepted as Adi Purusha. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is also accepted as Purana Purushaya, the oldest person. Although he is the oldest of all personalities, he is also youngest of all, or Nava Yavana. Another significant word is Dharmaya. Krishna is the original propounder of all kinds of religious principles. So no one can introduce new types of religion, for religion is already there and having been established by Lord Krishna. So we don't have to look up, come up with new religion. Religion is already there. The real dharma is, what is that real religion is? To surrender to him. In Mahabharata it is said, Ye cha veda vido vipra, ye chadhyatma vido jana, te vadanti mahatmanam, krishnam dharmam sanatanam. The purport is that one who has studied the Vedas perfectly, who is a perfect vipra or knower of the Vedas, who knows that what spiritual life actually is, speaks about Krishna. Krishnam dharmam sanatanam, the Supreme Lord, Sanatan Dharma. Lord Shiva therefore teaches us the principles of Sanatan Dharma. Why? Because last week we read who is Lord Shiva is Dharma Vatsalya. He has to show the regulative religious living. Shaktitraya Sametaya Midushe Ahankrit Tatmane Cheta Ahuti Rupaya Namo Vacho Vibhutaye. You are the supreme controller of work, sense activities, and results of sense activities. Therefore, you are the controller of body, mind, and senses. You are also the supreme controller of egotism known as Rudra. You are the source of knowledge and the activities of Vedic injunctions. So in this purport, Prabhupada mentions that everyone acts under the dictation of ego. Right? We are all in different capacities affected by our ego. Therefore, Lord Shiva is trying to purify false egotism through the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Since Lord Shiva or Rudra is himself the control of egotism, he indirectly wants to be purified by the mercy of Lord so that his real egotism can be awakened. Of course, Lord Rudra is always spiritually awake, but for our benefit, he is praying in this way. For impersonalists, pure egotism is, what is pure egotism? Aham Brahmasmi. I am not this body. I am spirit soul. That is the right understanding. But in its actual position, the spirit soul has devotional activity to perform. Therefore, Lord Shiva prays to engage both mind and action in devotional service. This is a process of purifying false egotism. So, if we want to become free from this false ego, the means is not just to meditate to get to this level, but actually actively engage in the process of devotional service. This is enacted by the chanting of Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thus, Lord Shiva is praying again and again for the purification of body, mind, and activities through the purification of knowledge and action under the pure directions of the Vedas. Lord Shiva prays to the Supreme Lord so that his mind, senses, and words will all turn toward devotional activities only. Yeah, so these are covering these important verses. From next verse is more about Lord Shiva is asking about serving. Darshanam no didrak sushanam. So it's all telling about, Lord, please engage me in your service. So here we understand the greatness of the Lord, and then he further goes to say, I wish to see you exactly in the form that your very dear devotees worship. So anyway, that goes next week. But here we can understand that how how Lord Shiva is offering prayers, and these are wonderful and powerful because we understand the greatness of the Lord, we understand our shortfalls, we understand our position, and then engage in His service. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Any thoughts, comments, questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for this wonderful session, Prabhuji. Generally, whatever Lord Shiva says, I think it really stands out. Even in Vishnu Sahasranama, the Sri Rama Rama Ramaiti, I think that's a very wonderful, praise of Lord Shiva of Lord Vishnu. So, it's very nice, Prabhuji. Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, any other things? Do we now have a better understanding of the Chaturvyuha expansion?
Hare Krishna.
Vasudeva.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Adresa Prabhu.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji, for this wonderful class. Yes, Prabhuji, it's very clearly described the Chaturvyu, the four incarnation of Lord Krishna, how this material nature is managed. And this conversation, Prabhuji, where the Lord Shiva is praising Krishna, where it is happen? Is he explaining to Mother Parvati, or is he just saying? I think you're explaining the first place. Or
No, he is telling this to the Prachetas, 10 sons of King Prachinabarhi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think end of this chapter, he says that this knowledge he got it from Lord Brahma.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Babuji. But till which slokas did you cover today?
43 or over.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this whole from 33 to 68 is called as Rudra Gita. Yeah, in that we have covered till 43. Yeah, and this is covering basically the purpose of prayers, right? So I'm just kind of briefly telling the Lord's qualities. Yeah, the Lord's qualities here are like self-realized Atmavid Varya. You are worshipable by the virtues of all perfect instructions you gave. And then it goes that you are none other than, you are Vasudev, all pervading. And which means you are the deity of consciousness. All pervasion is what? Consciousness. And then you are Sankarshan, you are the deity of the false ego, Ahankar. Yeah. Pradyumna, you are the deity of intelligence. And then finally, Aniruddha, you are the deity of mind, Manas. So in that way, he is the lord of all subtle elements. What are the subtle elements? Manas, Buddhi, and Ahankar. So we are controlled In that way, we see that who is the deity of them is Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. They are the deities, and they're the deities of these, and which are in every one of us, right? And the functioning is mentioned. What is the purpose of the prayer is to uh, be able to remember, to be able to engage our mind and senses, our consciousness, our intelligence, everything in devotional service. Yeah, and then it goes further in the form of like okay, the Surya Dev, yeah, the sun is Paramahamsa Nibrathatmane. So through which we can understand he is not, sun god is not independent. He is none other than Surya Narayana. He is coming from these expansions, and we can purify our consciousness, our clarity and transparency we can attain, and then engage in the service of the Lord. And then there is Agni. He's the deity of speech. He accomplishes the function of this deity is to accomplish the actions of four priests, and engage words in chanting the glories of the Lord. So in that way, we can understand that we are so much dependent in the blessings when we see how we can pray, in what mode we can pray, so that we can benefit by the blessings, so that we know that sun, we all see that he brings clarity to mind, but we also know from astrology, may have heard that Soma is not only that he gives the juice to the vegetables through which we can nourish our body, but he also gives, he is also called the deity of mind. So that through him we can perform provider of Pitralok, as well as all demigods. This so and so mind and taste are moon god, and then there is this Hiranyagarbha, then Virat Roop, then there is Vayu, Nabha, which is ether. So in that way, we see these five elements, their predominating deities. So ideally, when we go through this chapter, we can understand the greatness of the Lord. Of course, if one is practicing devotional service to Lord Krishna, yeah, the mood is more of melos rather than to understand the Vibhuti Tattva, yeah, the greatness of the Lord. It's more of that, but yeah, we can still understand how this is everything related to Krishna. Just like if you have a big company, yeah, you are the owner of it, you maintain everything, everything is being happening, but at home you are just fully free, independent, and you are having your own mood, yeah, and velos and relationships. So in that way, we see how this everything is related to the Supreme Lord, and yeah. Otherwise, usually we may think, right, okay, if I have that problem, let me go uh, to Shani Dev, or let me go to Agni, or let me go to that, this, right? So doesn't mean that they are independent. We can see that they indeed, yeah, I think there are purports. Actually, I made a notes somewhere. It got lost about this chapter, which gives more further details. Somehow, I could just speak from what I remember, but yeah. So this gives us an understanding how dependent we are, and yeah, ideally, we can see how the uh, predominating deities. We don't have to start thinking, oh, this god. Oh, I have to go and take shelter of that god, or I have to take shelter of this god. But ultimately, everyone are emanating from the Vishnu expansions. Yeah. So in fact, when we focus in pleasing Krishna, so we are actually even seeking the blessings of them, because as we see, Lord Shiva himself came out to bless the Prachetas. Yeah, there is a problem.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No, then thank you very much for joining. Vanchakalpadabhyascha kripa sindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
May Prabhuji, we can announce for this online class for today? Or if
Say again? Yeah, we can
maybe we
announce
can
the online class. Just as a reminder, yeah, we can definitely say.
Yeah, so today we have this very wonderful opportunity to hear from Prabhuji about how to be a good parent or the tips on the parenting. I think it will start on 2:30. The description is also on the group.
Yeah. Just stay tuned to the YouTube. Yeah, as soon as it's live stream. Ram Raghav Prabhu, are you able to come in time to set up? I think you learned already during Bhagavad Sapta how to set up these all mics and speakers. And
Yes, Prabhuji. We'll be there by 2 o'clock.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Okay then. Huh? See you soon. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.